Hello and welcome back to Boxing Buzz Unleashed. This weekend, we witnessed a surprising bout between Gervonta Davis, WA lightweight champion, facing off against Lamont Roach Jr., WA junior lightweight champion. Now let's be real, this fight didn't have much hype going in. Roach, coming up from the 130-pound division, had built up a reputation of mostly being subpar against his 130-pound contemporaries, beating guys like Fergal McCrory and Hector Luis Garcia, going life and death with Rene Alvarado. But even then, he managed to kill the WA junior lightweight title against Hector Luis Garcia, coming down weight after being knocked out by Gervonta Davis. But he still looked impressive against his performance against Fergal McCrory, but still, Fergal McCrory was never a world beater or even a top contender, as he would easily dispatch of him. So now coming into this fight, many expected that Lamont Roach Jr. would be dealt with the same way as many Tank's opponents are. Knocked out very late in the fight, Tank would just build up his data on them and slowly dominate them with his pressure and power. But in this fight, it was pretty much clear that Tank's pressure and power was kind of exposed a little bit as Lamont Roach showed discipline and kept back and used the high guard to block most of Gervonta's shots. Gervonta's power shots really would hit the gloves or the arms or even get through tiny gaps of Lamont Roach's guard, but not effective enough to hurt him, as Lamont Roach would go on the counter and even hurt Tank at multiple points in this fight. And in the 9th round, we showed the most shocking moment in boxing this week or this year for now. Gervonta Davis would get hit in the 9th round, but then he would retreat and take a knee before running to his corner. This is a surprising turn of events, as Gervonta Davis has never taken a knee or gotten knocked down in his entire professional career. Just for this to happen against a Lamont Roach Jr., who no one expected to even give him a time of day or even a tough fight. And this is a bad look on Gervonta Davis, as just recently he had an interview talking about how Turki Al-Sheikh and all the fighters going to the season were all suspicious and he would possibly get dropped there. Just for this to happen, as even though Lamont Roach Jr. put on a great performance, landing Tank in total amount of punches thrown and only losing by power punches thrown by Tank, which of course would happen. But even with the power punches thrown and landed by Tank, none of them was super effective enough to hurt Lamont Roach in a major way, as he never even got a knockdown or made Lamont Roach look like he was about to get out very quickly in the rounds that they fought. And as expected, this fight went to a majority draw, and one of the judges even had Gervonta Davis winning up in the scorecards. So this is a bad look for Gervonta Davis, as he would go around talking his talk, walking the walk, but all the way to crumble down against a Lamont Roach Jr., which no one expected to put on a good performance. So now, does that mean Gervonta Davis got fraud checked? In my opinion, this is a definitive fraud check because of three major factors that define a fraud check. The first and most important factor defining a fraud check is a fighter having an unimpressive performance against an underdog. Tank was expected to dominate and knock out Lamont Roach Jr., as not only was he the bigger fighter, he pulled Lamont Roach Jr. from the 130-pound division, and Lamont Roach Jr. hasn't really been that big of a performance or pound-for-pound skill talent, as he had also lost to Jamel Herring, a guy that Shakur Stevenson finished off easily and a one-sided brutal performance. But this same Lamont Roach Jr. made Tank go life and death and even hurt Tank at multiple points in this fight. So Gervonta Davis' skills have now been put into question, as if we can't deal with Lamont Roach, but if we put the same Lamont Roach against guys like Keyshawn Davis, Vasyl Lomachenko and Shakur Stevenson, even the thought of that makes it seem very questionable, as before this fight no one had Lamont Roach even beaten or even contending with the 135-pound division. But now some people are going to try and make an excuse saying that he would beat all these other guys just because he went to a close fight with Davis. But if we're being realistic, Lamont Roach can't deal with Shakur's defensive acumen. Keyshawn Davis's power and skills and strength would just overall dominate Lamont Roach's overall talent, as he's just a better and bigger version of Lamont Roach, and even has better skills than Lamont Roach at some areas. And Vasyl Lomachenko's overall technical skills would prove too much to Lamont Roach Jr., as Vasyl Lomachenko is a more skilled amateur, more skilled professional boxer, and has defeated way better competition than Lamont Roach Jr. So now, the second part that exposes this as a fraud check is we saw many flaws in Gervonta Davis' game, as we saw that if a guy is not leaving himself open very much and even going on the counter punch with Gervonta Davis seems to crumble in the moment. He seems to struggle to decipher any way to pick apart his opponent, since they don't leave very much open for themselves. Because guys like Frank Martin, who didn't have any championship levels level experience would also piece him up in the early rounds, but would lose form late in the round, that leading to Gervonta Davis knocking him out. Guys like Hector Luis Garcia, Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, guys that leave themselves open to counters, are guys that Gervonta Davis likes to fight. But in this fight, where Lamont Roach Jr. came with a disciplined game plan with a high guard and rolling some of the punches from Gervonta Davis and countered with a straight right hand, the southpaw killer, it proved that Gervonta Davis can't adapt to those kind of attacks, as that right hand was there for all day for Lamont Roach Jr., as Gervonta Davis couldn't adapt and trying to figure out how to defeat Lamont Roach Jr. And the last part that makes this a fraud check is we saw how Gervonta Davis deals with adversity, as when he was faced with the adversity at dealing with Lamont Roach, he really didn't even up his aggression, as he even had to go to his corner to even get a timeout. And I see many of claims saying Gervonta Davis had grease coming into his eyes, which is a weird claim, because even in the round 9, as playing in the background, we saw that Davis rubs his eye a bit, but then doesn't point to the ref saying that there's something in his eyes. Instead, looks at the ref and waits for the ref to do something, but takes a knee. And just after that, goes to his corner quickly and leans out his corner to ask for the corner to wipe something off his face. So with this still counts as a knockdown no matter what. As if your knee touches the ground, that's a knockdown. If both your gloves touch the ground, it's a knockdown. No matter what happens to you, if there's something in your eye, it happens, it's a knockdown. And many people want to be like, oh no, it really didn't count as a knockdown. A knockdown's a knockdown either way. And if there was something really in his eye, then he should have been wiped off in the very early rounds, or dealt with in the locker room itself. As if he had grease coming into there due to chemical compounds, then this should have been washed out with water quickly, as this would prove to be a big factor to his loss, as many would say. So it's either his corner is not efficient at wiping out the chemicals in his hair, or this excuse is pretty flimsy, as it has no real base to stand on. This fight left many questions. This fight is leaving many questions to Tank's reputation, as earlier this year I was talking about retiring and how he's way better than his guys and his fanatics overall hyping up to be the next face of boxing. But this fight showed that Gervonta Tank Davis is far from who he said he was, and the PBC's reputation has gone further down the drain, as they made this fight, which could have been a show-coming fight for one of their fighters, Lamont Roach Jr., another robbery in boxing, where a guy who did all he could still couldn't edge out the win. And even with that, this would lead to a Lamont Roach rematch, which, let's be honest, Lamont Roach is not getting any favors from the PBC, as they let him out to try in his previous fight against Philip Corey, where he wasn't even fought on the PBC card. He had to go to Pro Box on YouTube to fight. But anyways, I believe guys like Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez would give Gervonta Davis all he can handle, as their defensive style first makes it hard for Gervonta Davis to adapt and trying to figure it out. But overall, this was a decent bout in my opinion, but still not a fight that most people would get excited about, as it was just a 130 pounder and moving up again to fit Gervonta Davis's whims. But this turned out to be a cherry pick on run for Gervonta Davis. But anyways, later this week I'm hoping to just make more videos covering upcoming fights. I want to cover the upcoming Japanese supercard with Kenshiro Teraji facing off against Sego Yuri Aoki in a flyweight unification. Masamichi Yabuki facing off against Inja Ayala in a IBF flyweight title fight. A lot of fights to cover, and I'll see you guys next time when these videos get made. So, geez, Gervonta Tank Davis really isn't the guy who we thought he was.
I seem to be extreme cause my rap style gleams, taking opposition's dreams to be supreme. Know what I mean? One time, for them I attack the immaculate styles and snapbacks like chiropractors attack the beat with blackness that no rapper could withstand. You're left limbless, decapitated.